শুনলো। Okay. Just a minute. Online class. Online class. Okay, have a look. இது வந்து இந்த 4 கொஸ்டின் ஒரு ஷீட் மிச்சம் இதில் யூனிட் 4 அவர் ஒன்றும் பண்ணல பட் இருந்தாலும் அந்த ஷீட் வேணும். ஓகே, வேற காப்பி இருக்கா? டம்மி காப்பி நான் கட்டு கேட்போம். அது கேட்போம். ஓகே, தட்ஸ் ஆல். தேங்க் யூ. ஓகே, நான் ஏதாவது மெசேஜ் பண்ணுங்க. (122.37) Just a minute. Just a minute. This, I get this. Okay, let me start from here. This is Bhagavatamrita 1.2.44 to 45. I'll also open a discussion on this. Paramishchasane tatra. Sukhasinam nija prabhu. Mahima shravanakhyana param sashta netrakam. Vichitra parameshwarya samagri parisevitam swatatam narado bhyatya pranamyo vacha dandavat. I thought I read this also. I remember reading all this. Okay, this is where actually I'm supposed to begin. Okay. Shrinvaneva satadvakyam. Okay, this is Lord Brahma refuting Narada's place. Shrinvaneva satadvakyam dasosmiti mugurvadan chaturvaktroshta karnanam vidhane vyakritam gataha. Merely by hearing what Narada said, Brahma grew disturbed
He anxiously covered his 8 ears and said over and over again, I'm just a servant. तस्य मुनेर्वाक्यं सविवत्वम् इत्युक्तिं शृण्वन्नेव यः स ब्रह्मा यतश्चतुर्वक्त्र अतः अष्टानां कर्णानां स्वकीयानां पिधाने आच्छादने व्यग्रतां प्राप्तः द्वाभ्यां कराभ्यां चतुर्भिर्वा तैरष्टानां कर्णानां पिधानस्य दुर्घटत्वात् अश्रव्यस्य श्रोतुम् अयोग्यस्य श्रवणात्. So he covered his ears in great anxiety. Ashravya Shravana Jatam Kopam Yatnena Dharayam Swaputram Naradam Praha Sakshepam Chaturananaha. With some effort, the four-headed Brahma checked the anger, stirred. Just a minute. Having to work with the material mode of passion, Lord Brahma is sometimes briefly affected by anger. Here, because his son praised him inaptly as the independent Supreme Lord, he almost lost his temper. Shrotum ayogyasya shravanat. He heard something which he should not have heard. Therefore, Lord Brahma was so irritated. Brahmovacha. Aham na Bhagavan Krishna iti tvam kim pramanataha. Yuktitascha maya bhikshnam bodhitosi na balyataha. Brahma said, I am not the Supreme Lord Krishna. On what authority and by what logic do you say this? Haven't I constantly taught you about this since you were a little boy? Pramanataha. On what authority? Shruti Smriti Vachanebhyaha. Which means, on the basis of which Shruti or Smriti statement, Balyataha, Balyamarabhyatvam Abhiknam Kimna Bodhitosi, Apitu Bodhitosi. Haven't I constantly taught you about this since you were a little boy? I have taught you about this since you were a little boy. Atracha, Dvitiya Skandokta Shri Brahma Narada Samvado Anusartabhya. Now, this is to be seen in line with Lord Brahma's conversation with Narada in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In Brahmanical culture, one should not make any claim unless it is upheld by the Vedas or their authorized supplements. Thus, Brahma rightly demands the scriptural evidence for Narada's statements. As the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam recounts, Brahma had carefully educated his son in spiritual science. Tasya Shaktir Mahamaya Dasi Veksha Pathistita Srijatidam Jagatpati Swagune Samharatyapi. His personal entity, Mahamaya, stands within his sight like a maidservant. It is she who deploys her material modes to create, maintain, and demolish this world. So the Supreme Lord Krishna is Krishna alone. That is what he speaks here. Tadevaha tasyeti sarvena. He speaks that in text 58 and the first half of text 59. Swagune rajas sattvattamo bhir yathakramam srijati pati samharati cha. By the power of Rajoguna, Mahamaya creates. By Sattva Guna, she maintains. And by Tamoguna, she destroys. These are her potencies, and she is their controller. Tasyaivam vayam sarve yadhina mohitastaya tan na Krishna kripaleshatyapi patram avehi mam All of us are subject to her and bewildered. So you should not think me the recipient of even a trace of Krishna's mercy. Vayamiti Putra Pautradhyapekshaya. All of us means Brahma, his sons, and their descendants. Or in other words, everyone born into material existence. Evam Tomapi tan Maya Mohita Eva Yidrisham Vadasiti Bhava. You're also one of us bewildered souls, Brahma here implies. And so you're speaking erroneously like this. Tasmat tan Maya Mohitatvad ityartha. Because you're also bewildered by Maya the way we are bewildered by her. You're speaking all these things. And Maya eva satatam jagatoham guru prabhu pitamahascha krishnasya. Nabhi padmas samudbhavah tapasvyaradhakaschet tasyetyadyayir guru madair hataha brahmanda vashyakapara vyaparamarshya vihvalah bhuta prayatmalokiya nashachittanyantritaha sarvagrasi mahakala bhito muktim param vrine. By the power of Krishna's Maya, I'm always deluded by various conceits. I think myself the controller, grandfather, and spiritual master of the universe. Proud of my birth from Krishna's lotus navel, I think myself a great ascetic, a great worshipper. I'm overwhelmed by the countless duties of universal management. Worrying about the imminent destruction of my planet, I live in terror of the all-devouring end of time. All I want for myself is liberation. Tadeva darshan. Tat karanya bhava lakshanamaha. So then he points out that all of us are under the control of Maya. I myself am under the control of Maya. That is a characteristic that I do not have Krishna's mercy. Then he speaks these verses. According to Brahma, being the Lord of all creatures in the universe is not a sign of Krishna's favor. On the contrary, it's a cause of great trouble. His worldly responsibilities, he says, fills him with false pride and expose him to all kinds of anxiety. Brahma is bewildered by various kinds of abhimana, false identity. He thinks himself everyone's progenitor, protector, and regulator, as if he alone had the beginning, middle, and end of creation. He sees himself as the first teacher of the Vedas and all of the scriptures and the highest authority who appoints the demigods to their posts. Tatascha samharasya anuktihi swateva tasya amangalakamatvanam bhagavad kripalakshana agamakatva. He does not say that he is the cause of the destruction of the universe, because that happens by itself. Guru Matair, Mahabhimanaya Hadam. I'm always disturbed by great Abhiman. Abhiman means conceit, false prestige, an exaggerated sense of one's own importance. He may be called self-born, but that name is not literally true, since he is born from a lotus growing from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. That the personified Vedas and other principal scriptures attend Lord Brahma in his court does not prove that the Supreme Lord favors him. Rather, the presence of the revealed scriptures means that Brahma is all the more bound to follow their dictates in managing the universe. Evam prajapatitwadikam mahabhimana dosha karanam na Krishna kripa gamakam ityuktam. So he comes to the conclusion that being a prajapati and so on, it's a cause of a great defect in the form of an exaggerated sense of one's identity. Does not indicate that he has received Krishna's mercy. That's how he thinks. These scriptures may praise Brahmaloka, but Brahma is acutely aware that his planet is soon to be destroyed. He may long outlive the demigods headed by Indra, but he still has to die. And anticipating the end of the world and end of his life keeps Brahma always afraid. So, in other words, his situation is not better than Indra's situation. Indra had said that Lord Brahma lives for a long period of time and therefore is exalted. But Brahma is also terrified of the great force of time which destroys everyone. Tadartham bhagavat pujam karayami karomi cha avaso jagadishasya tasya va na kva vidyate. For this purpose of liberation, I engage others in worshipping the Lord and also worship Him myself. Since He is the Lord of the universe, is there any place where He does not reside? Idanim bhagavat pujadino tamutkarsham akshipati. Now he rejects the idea that he is very exalted because he is engaged in worshipping the Supreme Lord. Tadarthamiti, muktyarthameva nato bhakti sukhaya. He is worshipping the Lord in order to attain liberation, he says, not out of the happiness of bhakti. Evam na anugraha lakshana bhava. And this implies that he is not characterized by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Yachoktam bhaval lokamadhyeva vaikunthalopeti tat pariharati. And Nardamuni had said that the Supreme Lord's abode, Vaikuntha, is inside your abode. Now, he responds to that in the second half of this verse. Since he is the Lord of the universe, is there any place where he does not reside? Vasati sthanam putrana vidyate. Where does he not live? Apitu vahirantasya sarvatra vivartati yarthaha jagadishatva. Because he is the Lord of the universe, he lives inside and outside of everything. In effect, Brahma is saying, I worship the Lord for liberation, not from the sheer joy of devotional service. So you should not regard this worship as a sign of my being favored. You said that God resides on my planet, but that is nothing exceptional since the Lord of the universe lives inside and outside everything. Veda pravartanaya sau bhagam krishnati kevalam swayam sampadita prashtha yajnasya anugrahaya cha. He accepts sacrificial offerings only to promote the Vedic teachings and show special favor to the sacrifices themselves, which are dear to him because he is their original creator. Yachoktam bhagavan sakshat yajna bhagan svikaroti iti tadapi pariharati. Nardamuni had stated that Lord Brahma, he accepts the sacrificial shares. No, the Supreme Lord accepts, the Supreme Lord Vishnu accepts the sacrificial shares directly from Brahma. Now he says, Brahma is saying, no, that he's doing because he wants to promote the Vedic teachings. He wants to show that when you follow the Vedas, the Supreme Lord also does his part, which is also stipulated in the Vedas. That's all. So this is just to show his favor. That's all. Vedasya swakiya agya-rupasya lokeshu pravartanaya swayam bhagavate sampaditasya veda-rakshartham eva achila upakarana nishpadamena pravartitasya prishtasya swa priyatamasya nijapriyamurtitva vidyasya jata vekavachanam yaga-vidherupa anugrahaya kevalam iti natu kathanchitapi madvatsalyena yajamana-varga bhaktiyadina vedyatra. It is not out of his mercy upon me or out of his affection for me. It It's not because I'm engaged in devotional service as I'm engaged in devotional service through these sacrifices that is reciprocating in this manner. He wants to protect the Vedas. So therefore, because when you utilize all the ingredients for his satisfaction, he's very satisfied. Therefore, he is accepting these sacrificial offerings from me directly. The Vedic sacrifices are dear to the Supreme Lord because they benefit all living beings, engaging them indirectly in his service. The Lord, after all, is forever eager to have the wayward souls come back to him. In Brahma's opinion, the Lord reciprocates with him because of the Lord's concern for the welfare of the universe, not because he is particularly interested in Brahma or the other sacrifices. Brahma thus expresses the limited thoughts of ritualistic religion, placing God at a formal distance and ignoring the Lord's constant compassion for every living being. In fact, the Supreme Lord cares in an intimate, personal way for all living beings, including those who have chosen to forget him since time immemorial. Vicara acharya buddhyasva sahi bhakteka vallabha kripam tanoti bhakteshu na bhakteshu kadachana. Just consider this, my dear professor of logic. He loves only devotion. He shows his mercy only to his devotees, never to non-devotees. This statement by Brahma is confirmed by many statements spoken by the Supreme Lord. For example, Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya, and I can be realized only by devotional service. Bhaktir durestu tasmin me naparadha bhavanti chet bahumanyat tadatmanam naham adarsu rudravat. Forget about my having any devotion for him. I would be happy if only it were true that I never offend him. I cannot expect him to tolerate my offenses as he does Lord Shiva's. Madabdam Parajatoso Sarvalokopatapaka Hiranyakashipo Dushto Vaishnava Drohatat Paraha. With benedictions obtained from me, the wicked Hiranyakashipu became the tormentor of all the worlds, dedicated to violence against Vaishnavas. Shri Manu Nrisimharupena Prabhuna Samhrito Yada Adaham Saparivaro Vichitrastava Parta Vaihi Stuvan Stitva Bhayadure Angad Drishtya Vinatataha Prahladasya Visheki Tu Vitte Tasmin Prasadataha. After the Lord in his form as Nrsimhadev destroyed Hiranyakashipu, I and my entourage stood fearful at a distance, trying to praise the Lord with skillful prayers, but he would not even honor us with a sidelong glance. Yet when Prahlad was inaugurated king, the Lord at once became pacified. Shanairu Basrato Bhyarnam Adishtoham Idam Rusha Maivam Varo Suranam Te Pradaya Padmasambhava. Then I slowly approached him and he angrily ordered me, "You should not give such benedictions to demons or lotus pond." Sanatana Goswami has remarked, Tatra Hiranyakashipu vada prasange bhagavad vyavahara vachanabhyam eva aparadha akshamam adu chatushlokya darshayati tatra prathama shlokena Hiranyakashipu samhara hetu nirtesha dvara swaparadha eva uddishtaha. So, in relationship to the depth of the killing of Hiranyakashipu, there are 4 verses. In the first verse, he points out that he himself had committed an offense that caused, that brought about this terror of Hiranyakashipu. Tathapi Ravanadibhyo Dushtebhyo Ham Varanadam Ravanasya Tuyat Karma Jikhva Kasya Grinati Tat. Nonetheless, I kept on giving benedictions to wicked demons like Ravana, whose tongue can even mention the sins Ravana has done. In text 67 through 78, Brahma elaborates on the offenses against the Lord for which he considers himself responsible. Having mentioned the killing of Hiranyakashipu, Brahma goes on to tell of Lord Nrsimha's dissatisfaction at Brahma's mistakes. The promise of invincibility Brahma gave Hiranyakashipu resulted in offenses to the Lord's pure devotee. The Lord takes such offenses more seriously than offenses directly against himself. After Lord Nrsimha killed Hiranyakashipu, Brahma and other demigods tried to pacify the Lord. They thought they might deserve the Lord's kind glance and perhaps blessings expressed by the touch of his feet on their heads. But for some time, Lord Nrsimha remained so furious that he would not even recognize the demigod standing before him. Thus he expressed his displeasure. And when Brahma finally got the courage to approach him, the Lord also expressed displeasure by his words. Finally, only by the prayers of Allah was Lord Nrsimha calmed. Seeing this, Brahma thought, now that he is pacified, he will be ready to respond gracefully to my prayers. Lord Nrsimha, however, was still annoyed enough to rebuke Brahma. His original words are recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam. Maivam vifosurana te pradeya padmasambhava varah krura nisargana mahinam amritam yatha. My dear Lord Brahma, O great Lord born from the lotus, just as it is dangerous to feed milk to a snake, so it is dangerous to give benedictions to demons, who are by nature ferocious and jealous. I want you not to give such benedictions to any demon again. Lord Nrsimha was not going to excuse Brahma for his bad judgment, just because Brahma had been born from the Lord's own neighbor. After all, Brahma was still a finite jiva with the tendency to make mistakes. The Lord's judgment was later confirmed when Brahma gave Ravana supernatural power. Misusing that power, Ravana disturbed the world, offended Lord Ramachandra by kidnapping Mother Sita, and committed other odious crimes. Mayadattadhikaranam chakradinam mahamadeh sadahedra vivekanam tasmin agamsi samsmara. Remember the offenses committed against the Lord by Indra and other demigods. I appoint. The excessive pride of those demigods constantly perverts their discrimination. Vrishti yuddhadinendrasya govardhana mahadishu nandaharana bani yadhenvada adanadi apateh. Indra sent rain to retaliate for the golden sacrifice, fought against the Lord and committed other offenses. The Lord of the waters, Varuna, offended the Lord by kidnapping Nanda Maharaj, by failing to return the cows belonging to Bana and so on. Yamasya Chadradacharya Majja Durmaranadina, Kuverasyapi Dushcheshta, Shankachuda Kritadina. Yamaraj made mistakes by allowing the wrongful death of the son of the Lord's teacher. And Kuvera was responsible for the wicked misdeeds of Shankachuda and others. Atho loke tudai teya Vaishnava drohakarinaha Sapascha sahajakrodan duhtah kaliya bandhava. In the lower planetary systems, lived the Daityas, who always attack Lord Vishnu's devotees. And also living there are the serpent friends of Kaliya, who by nature are contaminated by anger. Indra had mentioned to Narada that Brahma appoints the rulers of the planets. Brahma now turns this praise around, showing that the same fact is a reason for him to feel ashamed. 3 universal rulers have committed numerous offenses against Lord Vishnu. These universal rulers have committed numerous offenses against Lord Vishnu. And Brahma considers the offenses of his subordinates his own. Narada is unfamiliar with these incidents, but Brahma is is asking him to remember them for a moment. Indra offended Krishna by trying to destroy Vrindavan in the wake of the Govardhan Puja. And he fought Krishna when Krishna took away a parijata flower tree for his queen Satyabhama. At various times, Indra dared to criticize Krishna, not fully respecting his supremacy, although in an earlier conversation with Narada, Indra mentioned some of his own offenses. His memory of other offenses he had committed was covered by subtle pride. Varuna arrested Krishna's father Nanda for bathing in the Yamuna at a forbidden time during the last minutes of the night at the beginning of the Dwadashi. And Varuna ordered Nanda Maharaj bound and brought to his court. Varuna is also known to have failed to return some cows that belonged to Bana, and to have sometimes spoken duplicitously. Yama, the Lord of Death, took away the young son of Krishna's teacher, Sandipani, allowing the demon Panchajana to kill the Brahmin boy. Sri Vishnu Purana and other scriptures furthermore describe Yamaraj becoming an opponent of Krishna in battle. So the idea is that these people are all celestials, greater celestials. But even they were forcibly being brought under submission. Besides the demigods Indra, Varuna, Yama, and Kuvera, who are the superintendents of the 4 principal directions. Many demigods are also guilty of offenses against Krishna, and the subterranean serpents come in for blame simply because they are blood relatives of Kaliya. Okay. Sambratyapi prayatasya swayam vatsashtata tatharbhaka vrindavane palyamana bhojane maya krita. And recently Brahma Magic has told the cows and young friends the Lord was watching after in Vidvan. I took them all away while the boys were having lunch. This is Brahma's version. In Brahma's opinion, his last offense, his own, was worse than all the transgressions committed by the other demigods. While Krishna was enjoying lunch with his friends in the sacred forest of Vrindavan, Brahma disturbed him by stealing the cows and boys Krishna was personally protecting, resorting to mystic power. Brahma removed them from Krishna's presence and hid them in a cave. Tato viksham mahascharyam bhitastutva namannapi drishtoham vanchitastena gopa balaka lilaya. I then saw some most amazing wonders and became frightened. Offering prayers and going down to the Lord, I thought, I'm so arrogant, but now in his pastime as a cowherd boy, he tricked me. So he wanted to cheat the Supreme Lord himself. That is not possible. So in retaliation, he experienced all kinds of bewilderment now. Krishna arranged for Brahma to see that he had continued playing with the boys and cows for a whole year. Even after Brahma had supposedly kidnapped them, Brahma saw each of the boys and calves assume the spiritual form of the personality of God, each holding within himself all the universe. Suddenly realizing the seriousness of his offense, Brahma became afraid. He thought himself arrogant because he had now dared approach with prayers and obeisance the Lord he had repeatedly offended. Brahma focused his mind on Lord Krishna standing before him as a small cowherd boy, holding a handful of chipped rice and yogurt from someone else's plate. And Brahma was astounded. The Lord had defeated him. And now the Lord was not even responding to his prayers. It's a fact. The Supreme Lord did not even bother to console Brahma repeatedly. That's clear from Bhagavatamrita Sindhu and other sources also. तस्य स्वाभाविकस्याब्ज प्रसादे क्षणमात्रतः पृष्ठस्वं बहुमन्ये स्म तत्प्रियं व्रजभूगते. Simply by the spontaneous glance of favor upon me from his lotus face, I became joyful. I realized how fortunate I was to have visited the land of Vraja, which is so dear to him. Katham Tarhi Bhavan Saharsham Nijaloke Vasati. How is it that you can, after all this that has happened, how is it that you live happily in your abode? This is the answer to that question. Narada might wonder how everything seemed all right with Brahma soon after Brahma's blunder and embarrassment. How was he now sitting happily in his own abode? One answer Brahma gives here is that he at once felt the purpose of his life fulfilled just by seeing the Lord's ever smiling face. And he had also received the rare opportunity to stay a short time in Sri Vrajadham. Vraja is the most sacred land, and Krishna is the only shelter of its residents. Thus Brahma felt that after having mistreated the cows and cowherd boys of Vraja, it was best for him to leave quickly and go back to Brahmaloka. Tatraha tvanashchira sthitya paradhasya vitrasam apasaram kimanyayistan nija saubhagya varnanai. Fearing I would commit more offenses if I stayed there too long, I then went away. What else need I tell you about my ill fortune? This answers the question. How is it then that you didn't want to stay there in Vrajabhumi? Ishwarasya anavasare rahasya deshe chiram avasthanena paradhaiva vadeyu. When there is no reason, and because the place is a very confidential place, definitely one is going to increase his offenses there. Vrajabhumi is a place of the Supreme Lord's intimate dealings with his dearmost devotees. Materialistic person should not stay there longer than a few days, long enough to get transcendental benefit from contact with the holy Dham, but not long enough to become offensive towards the Dham and to its and its residents. Brahma, thinking himself one of the ordinary conditioned souls, had returned quickly to his own place. Now he had nothing more to say about his own shortcomings, since he felt he had adequately refuted each point of Narada's phrase. So he is teaching us by his example that we should not stay in a holy dham if we are not sufficiently serious in Krishna consciousness. So now what does Brahma do? This is what he does. He directs him to Lord Shiva. It begins a new topic of discussion. Atha Brahmanda Madhyasmin Adranekshi Kripaspadam Vishnu Kintu Mahadeva Eva Khyata Sakhetiya. In fact, in this universe, I see no object of Lord Vishnu's mercy equal to Mahadev Shiva. He is famous as the dear friend of the Lord. Tasman Madhyodhva Dhrova Sidoshi Sadbhava Yadyapi Shri Mahadeva Yadyapeksha Bhagavat Parmanu Grihapatra Tvena Agre Vakshamana Shri Prahladadayaha Brahmanda Bhyantaraiva Vartante Te Tathapi Tesham Prapanchadita Subhava Kattva Vasasthanam api Tadrishameva Natu Prapanchantar Gananiyam Nityato Brahmanda Mante Yuktam Evoktam. In comparison to Sri Mahadeva and others, is the fact that those who reside in the middle, upper, and lower planetary systems possess certain defects. But even there, Sri Prahlad and others live inside the universe. Now, one point to note is Prahlad Maharaj and others, even though they live within the universe, Tesha Prapanchatita Subhava Tattva. They have a nature which belongs to the world that is beyond Prapancha, material existence. Therefore, they are not meant to be counted as places that are part of material existence. Other than Lord Shiva, everyone in every part of the universe, upper, middle, and lower, is imperfect. After all, although certain persons like Prahlad will be described later in this book as greater devotees of Krishna than Lord Shiva. Strictly speaking, they are not residents of the material world, because the character of a devotee like Prahlad is untouched by material contamination. Anywhere he resides is spiritual. Thus, Lord Brahma is not speaking inconsistently, because Brahma and Shiva are both Bhagavad Gunavatars. The Supreme Lord deals with them similarly. Brahma can understand Lord Krishna's mercy on Lord Shiva because it resembles something within its own experience. When Goddess Ganga, as we are told in Sri Harivamsa, declares the ocean more fortunate than the Lord herself, she does not compare herself with Brahma, who is much more fortunate still. In the same way, Brahma here compares himself with Lord Shiva, and not with even greater Vaishnavas like Prahlad. What to speak of the orphan boys and other inhabitants of Braja. Yascha Shri Krishna Padabja Raseno Maditasana Avadhirata Sarvartha Paramaishwarya Bhodakaha. Lord Shiva is always intoxicated by the taste found by Shri Krishna's goddess. He therefore has no interest in any of the normal goals of life, even up to the rulership of the universe and the sense enjoyment such rulership provides. Asmadrisho Visheno Bhoga Saktan Samiva. Dustura Kastim Malatrik Nagno Bhasmanule Panaha. As if ridiculing materialists like me were simply addicted to sense enjoyment. He goes around naked wearing garlands of dustura, and intoxicating weed. Arka, and bones smeared all over with ashes. Viprakirna Jadabhar Unmatta eva Guranyate Tatha Swagopanashak Krishna Padabjashocha Jam Ganga Murdhe Vahan Arsham Vidyamscha Layate Punaha. His matter locks care about, he moves about aimlessly like a madman. Yet he is unable to conceal his glories. With joy, he carries on his head the Ganga, born from the water that washed Krishna's lotus feet. When he dances, he destroys the universe. Lord Shiva rejects with disdain the ambitions of religiosity, economic development, social education, and liberation. He has no desire to be an independent controller and enjoyer. The satisfaction others derive from such worldly pursuits and the achievement of supremacy does not attract. He identifies himself truly as a servant of Krishna. In Lord Shiva's view, demigods like Brahma and Indra are addicted to sense enjoyment. They are celestial garlands, ornaments, and perfumes last only a short time, and so leave them dissatisfied. Other than the decorations of the demigods are his own garlands made of bones and intoxicating weeds, which at least cause no disappointment when they desire. These strange ornaments, Lord Shiva thinks, are no less substantial than Indra's and Brahma's divine garlands. But these are only Lord Shiva's extended discussion. These are only Lord Shiva's external decorations. There's a real ornament and there's a real enjoyment are found in the mercy of Sri Krishna. Now, this is not just Sanatana Goswami's own statement. There are several statements which point out that Lord Shiva is an extremely great devotee, staunch devotee of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna means Lord Krishna and the various forms of Lord Krishna. For instance, that's that famous statement that Lord Shiva is telling Parvati, Rakaradhini Nama. When I hear any word which begins with the sound Ra, then I immediately remember Rama, and I hope that that word will be the name Ra. So he is so attached to the Supreme Lord. So he only thinks about attaining the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Humbly thinking himself bereft of that misery, he feels fit to wear weeds and bones. With such ideas in mind, the great Lord Shiva conducts himself in his own peculiar way. Krishna prasadat tenaiva madrisham adhikarinam abhishtar pariyatum muktis tasya pampyam abhishat tasya patnya abhishatyate. When Krishna's grace, Lord Shiva and his wife are able to award liberation to candidates like me who eagerly wanted. Principal demigods like Indra and Brahma enjoy high posts in the administration of the universe. But after carrying out extensive duties for many millions of years, they may tire of this burden. The liberation from material existence begins to look more and more attractive to them. In the midst of all the pomp and luxury of earlier rulership, many demigods quietly harbor the desire for liberation. So that is how Lord Brahma also does. Speaking from humility, he describes himself as just another appointed administrator with selfish motives of his own. Aho sarvevite mukta shivaloka nivasinaha muktastat kripaya krishnam bhaktasya katina bhavan. Indeed, everyone who lives on Lord Shiva's planet is liberated by his mercy. So many persons have become liberated, souls, and even pure devotees of Krishna. Notice that there's a distinction here. Muktaha, Krishna Bhaktaha. Lord Shiva is Nitya Mukta, eternally liberated, and his devotees are liberated also. Many other fortunate souls living on lower planets like the earth have also been blessed by his mercy and instructions, which have given the souls the strength to advance spiritually in various ways. Krishnachvasya bhedeksha mahadosha karimata ado bhagavata swasmin shamyate na shivekyutam. To consider Lord Shiva different from Krishna is a serious spiritual deviation. The personality of God tolerates offenses against himself, but not against Lord Shiva. So here, we see Lord Shiva is described as a recipient of Lord Vishnu's mercy, but this does not mean that the two lords are different from one another in the same way that Lord Vishnu differs from the Jivas. The Bhagavatamrita includes the Namaparada Bhanjana Stotra, a list of 10 offenses against chanting the Lord's holy name, Lord Vishnu's names. So this Namaparada Bhanjana Stotra refers to the series of verses in Padma Purana in that chapter which enlists the 10 offenses. How to break Namaparana? That is the discussion. Therein it is said, Shivasya Shri Vishnurya Gunanamadi Sakalam Dhiya Bhinnam Pashye Sakhalun Hari Nama Hita Karaha. One of these differences between any of Lord Shiva's qualities and names and those of Shri Vishnu is an antagonist to Harinam. Lord Vishnu cannot tolerate offenses against Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is the greatest of Lord Vishnu's empowered incarnations. Lord Shiva is especially empowered to distribute in the material world the elevated taste of pure devotion service. So this is Lord Shiva's special position and role. Shiva Datta Varunmattar Vipureshwaratonam Vipureshwarato Maya Tatha Vrikasuradescha Sankatam Paramam Yataha Shiva Samudhrito Nena Harshitascha Vachomritai Tadantaranga Sadbhaktya Krishnena Vasavartina Swayam Maradhyate Jasya Mahatmyam Bharat Siddhaye. When Maya, the master of Tripura, grew intoxicated with pride by Lord Shiva's benediction and placed Lord Shiva in danger. And when Lord Shiva was troubled by other demons like Vrikasura, the Supreme Lord saved him and encouraged him with nectarian words. And sometimes to broadcast Lord Shiva's glories, Lord Krishna takes the role of his subordinate and worships him with intimate devotion. These are all further evidences of Lord Shiva being so dear to Lord Krishna. Let me deal with this purport. Lord Shiva once empowered Mayadana to construct for the demons of Tripura a well of heavenly nectar that could revive the dead. On another occasion, Lord Shiva granted Vicara the power to crack anyone's head into pieces by merely touching it with his hand. Lord Shiva also granted great strength and influence to demons like Ravana. Each of these demons became intoxicated with his acquired perfections and created trouble for Lord Shiva. Maya made it difficult to destroy Tripura. Vrika tried to test his power on Lord Shiva's head, compelling Lord Shiva to flee for his life. And Ravana moved Kailasa mountain from its base. Each time Lord Krishna came to save Lord Shiva. He drank up Mayadana as well, beguiled Vrika into touching his own, he deceived Vrika into touching his own head. And as Lord Ramachandra killed Ravana with bow and arrows. So each time he protected Lord Shiva. These famous episodes, briefly alluded to here, are elaborately described in various scriptures, including Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma points out that although Lord Nrsimha had rebuked him, the Supreme Lord did not treat Lord Shiva's offenses the same way. Instead, responding to Lord Shiva's remorse, the Lord generally tried to encourage him, saying, for example, about Vikasura, Ahodeva Mahadeva, Papoyam Svena Papmana Hatah Kono Mahatsvisha Jantur Vaikataki Vishaha, Cheme Syadkim Vishveshe, Katagas O Jagat Puram. Just see, O Mahadev, my Lord, how this wicked man has been killed by his own sinful reactions. Indeed, what living being can hope for good fortune if he offends exalted saints? What to speak of offending the Lord and spiritual master of the universe? So that's all. He only said this much. He spoke words like this. But this is the sort of words that he spoke. He did not chastise him. He did not deal with him the way he dealt with Brahma. You see the extent to which Sanatana Goswami has analyzed. He's compared Lord Vishnu talking to Lord Shiva with the Lord Vishnu talking to Brahma. Of course, in the form of Nrsimhadev. Chastise Brahma, but he didn't chastise Lord Shiva. The Supreme Lord in his incarnation as Parashuram worships Lord Shiva in loving reciprocation by advertising Lord Shiva's greatness. So in the form of Parashurama, etc. So in that way, he has a special affection for Lord Shiva. Ishtathapi Swayam Sakshat Krishnenam Mrutamanthane Prajapatibhir Aradhya Sagauri Pranavallava Samanaya Visham Ghoram Ayayitva Vibhushitaha Mahamahimadharabhi Abhishiktascha Tatsputam. Although Krishna was personally present at the churning of nectar from the milk ocean, he and the rulers of the universe chose to worship Lord Shiva, the life and soul of Gauri. Lord Shiva collected and drank the terrible poison which thereafter became his ornament. He was then ceremonially bathed in the presence of everyone assembled and was glorified with floods of praise. So notice this. When Brahma says that Krishna was present in a different form actually, not in the same form as the two-handed Swayam Bhagavan form. In the presence of Lord Krishna, the demigods had no need to fear destruction from the halahala poison churned from the ocean of milk. Krishna chose, however, not to counteract the poison himself, but to give Lord Shiva an opportunity to show his prowess. Supreme Lord and the Prajapati honored Lord Shiva with Vedic hymns and other prayers, entreating him to save them. Their request was so thoroughly presented that Lord Shiva took the risk of drinking all the poison, ignoring the objections of his dear wife Gauranga. The demigods praised Lord Shiva for a feat even Lord Vishnu had not performed. From then on, the blue marks made on Lord Shiva's throat by the poison became renowned as his unique ornament. Nilakantha, his neck became blue. So all of this became known to everyone. It was not some sudden piece of information that only some got to know. Everybody got to know. Okay. Any questions on this? One minute. Yes, sir. What happened? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in Bhagavatam, we see it's mentioned that Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. But in Bhagavatam, we don't come across anywhere saying that Maya Devi is creator. So how do we understand these two?
No, but Maya Devi has been described as his potency, which causes different things to happen in relation to the material world. Even in Brahma Samhita, we have no Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhavanani Vivarti Durga. It brings about the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universes. Of course, by Krishna as well.
So is she considered as the potency of Lord Brahma?
No, she is considered Vishnu Maya, Vishnu's potency.
So she is like, an assistant to Brahma. Can we say that?
No, Brahma is under her. She is not under Brahma.
But it's bewildering, right, to think like that, because Brahma is supposed to be the highest of all the demigods we hear, and then now we hear that Durga
But
Devi.
Maya is Parvati, Lord Shiva's wife. And Lord Shiva is not just a demigod inside a universe.
But
Lord
then
Shiva-
Brahma Samhita also it is said that that Devi Dham is below Mahesh Dham, and Devi Dham is within the material universe, it says.
Yeah, because that's under her control.
But she stays with Lord Shiva in beyond the Virija, is it?
Always. Lord Shiva also has places inside each universe.
Sorry?
Lord Shiva also has places inside each universe.
So both the Durga Devi and Lord Shiva also reside in the material universe, right?
Yeah, different places. There are different places within each universe where they reside. Lord Shiva has his own incarnations also.
Is it the same with the Durga Devi also?
She also takes incarnations, like for instance, Sati. Sati was one incarnation. Parvati was another. Like that. It's definitely very, very powerful.
But nothing of this is mentioned in Bhagavatam, right? About Durga Devi.
Durga is same as Shiva's wife, just a particular form. She has different forms. Kali is one form, Durga is another form, Parvati is another form.
Now, what I meant is in the matter of creation, nothing is mentioned about her.
No, but she is the potency.
Hmm.
She is the potency. is material potency. And we are talking of creation, maintenance, destruction of the material universes. So it's very obvious that she has absolute control over material existence. Parvati and Lord Shiva, they are the mother and father of the entire material manifestation. Lakshmi Narayana are parents of Vaikuntha. They are the father and mother of Vaikuntha. But Uma Maheshwar, they are the mother and father of all the creatures and material existence. They are naturally superior. Lord Shiva appears after Brahma, but that is just a pastime. Just a pastime. Lord Sadashiva is beyond the Brahma Jyoti. And Prabhupada also says, look at this. In the first canto, actually. In the conditioned state of material existence, the living being possesses these attributes, meaning 78%, 50 out of 64 attributes in very minute quantity, varying in terms of the pious life of the living being. The most perfect of living beings is Brahma, the supreme administrator of one universe. He possesses 78% of the attributes in full. All other demigods have the same attributes in less quantity, whereas human beings possess the attributes in very minute quantity. The standard of perfection for a human being is to develop the attributes up to 78% in full. The living being can never possess attributes like Shiva, Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. A living being can become godly by developing the 78% transcendental attributes in fullness, but he can never become a god like Shiva, Vishnu, or Krishna. He can become a Brahma in due course. So he can never ever, he cannot become Lord Shiva. We are talking of the original Shiva, Adi Shiva. He cannot become that. It's beyond Brahma Jyoti. On the other side, and Parvati is his own wife. There's no way. It's beyond. So there are thousands of Brahmas, but they're all under the original Shiva and original Parvati. They're direct expansions of Lakshmi Narayana.
Prabhuji, Nitya Siddhas also go up to 78% or more than 78%? Nitya Siddhas? Nitya Siddhas.
But still, they will not have all the qualities like Krishna.
Yeah, I agree, but they are up to 78% or they go more than
78%.
So with 78%, they can go back permanently to the spiritual world. You don't need 100% for spiritual world.
No, it's not like that. To go back to Godhead, you need to have love for the Supreme Lord. And then these qualities are automatically gifted to one. That's all. That's different. This is just to make us understand who is meant to be worshipped and who is meant to be an object of surrender for which purpose. That's all. Therefore, these 64 primary attributes are brought out by Srila Rupa Goswami.
One more thing, this Lord Shiva who comes from Brahma's body when he gets angry, that is a spiritual Lord Shiva, right? He's the Sadashiva, isn't it?
Yeah, looks like.
Who is considered directly as a incarnation from Lord Vishnu, right?
It's a special form. It's a special form. Special form. Because he is a form to control material nature without being influenced by material nature. Lord Vishnu does not touch material nature to control material nature. Rather, he expands himself as Lord Shiva. And Lakshmi, she expands herself as material nature, Prakriti. That's how it comes about. Comes in Brahma Samhita. Okay, anything else? Okay. If there are further questions, we can bring it up. You can bring it up in Telegram. We can discuss it there. Panchayana Guru Vyasya Pasam Vibhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.